Hey everybody, it is Mr. Ensminger here with a little video about our unit on methods here. Coming up within the next couple of days and then next week, I'm going to ask you to do a series of several programs involving methods. And it's going to be taking place, you're going to be graded on the OnlineGDB site. You've done some things there before. I just want to walk through this. I'm sure many of you probably realize this. It's probably a good preference, rather than doing it web-based, to do it locally on your computer using, whatever compiler you're using, Dr. Java, what have you, and then transferring the code over. It's just, in my opinion, it's easier to work with. I'm not saying that you have to do your entire program on the OnlineGDB. It's there as, for me to easily grade, since I won't see many of you in person. I can't just walk up behind you and look at your computer to grade your program. So I'm just going to take one of the programs that I'm going to ask you to do next week, this weekend, next week. I have it broken down to several different sections, level 1, level 2, and then talks about recursion, which we'll talk a little bit about next week as well. And so for the first set of programs, there's 4 programs. These 4 are relatively straightforward. The first one here says, write a double method named distance, takes x1, y1, x2, y2's input, and returns the distance between those 2 points. So let me whip that up really quickly, and as I do so, let me talk about expectations and things you're going to be doing going forward with methods. Of course, you want to start with putting your header at the top, period 4 for you guys. This is whatever date, and this is the distance program. So please make sure you put your header at the top, as you've done for many years now. I'm going to start off by saying public class, something like distance test. The thing is, when we go and put this eventually on the OnlineGDB site, the OnlineGDB site only is able to do class names that are called main, capital M main. I don't know why, but that's just the way it is. So I would not call them main on your computer, because every time you write a new class, it's going to overwrite the old one. So don't do that. Just call it like you would, just do a normal program. And so the program asks you to do some input, x1, y1, and so on. So let's do that. I'm going to import java.util.star. That, of course, is for our scanner. Scanner input equals new scanner, system.in. And then, do them in that order. Double x1 equals input.next double. With the OnlineGDB site, it does not want you to put in any sort of prompts. No, please enter x1. The distance is. Don't do any of that stuff. Just stick with plain old input and plain old output. So I have those 4. And of course, I need to have a method. That's the whole point. You can't get credit for these programs unless you do a method. And so I will say, let's come down here quickly and make a method. So public static. Remember that because you're calling the function from the main function, and the main function is a static method, this has to be static also. They're both public because they're inside of a class. We want to be able to access them. So public static, it's going to return a double for distance, and we'll call it distance. Methods, remember, are lowercase. Your class names are capitalized. That's the convention, so that's what we're going to stick with. It's going to expect us to send in double x1, double y1, double x2, double y2. Of course, when you have a method, the signature of the header has to match up. You have to take in 4 different doubles, return a double, and we have to do the order that it asks us for. And so to call that method, if I do just print it out. Don't worry about saying the distance is. You're just going to simply say distance when you send in x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay. So down here then, distance formula, of course, you have the square root of the difference of the x's squared plus the difference of the y squared. We've done that a couple times. So if I say return the square root, which of course everybody knows in Java, to call the math library method, you say math dot, all the methods are static coming from the math class. So capital M math square roots of quantity x1 minus x2, and you're going to square that. So just to make my life easy, I'm just going to do take quantity times quantity, that's the quantity squared, plus y1 minus y2 times y1 minus y2, close that off, semicolon, and of course before you copy it over, make sure it works. So if I just compile that really quick and give it a little run, if I put in let's say like 0, 0, 5, 12. It should give us a distance of 13, and it does. Notice that gives you 13.0 because we're using doubles, but there's my code. Seems like it works okay. 0, 0, 5, 12, distance is 13 to 5, 12, 13 triangles, Pythagorean triplet. Everybody knows that, right? So, when I'm ready to take this and test it, again, like I have the file local, so I have it saved. I'm going to just copy the entire thing, including the header, I guess. Probably would help. And let me go over then to the OnlineGDB site. I don't have these active yet as they're recording of this video, but it will be soon. And so if I paste that, up at the top, for the programs that have a test case, there will be a button that says test. So test it. But again, before you do so, it requires you to rename it main. Capital M, main. That's the only way it works for some reason. Right here it's called main. And I can't click that or change it. It's got to be, that's what it is. So if I run the program, just make sure it took OK, and I don't know why it wouldn't have. 0, 0, 5, 12, and it still gives me 13 as it should. So make sure, again, no prompts of any kind, no input prompts, no output labels. Make sure your types match up. If the problem says decimal, make sure you do that. If it says to format to a certain number of decimal places, please do that as well. The website grader, the auto grader, is particular about making sure that you have the correct answer for the decimal. So like if it's expecting 13.0 and you get 13, it's going to be wrong. So just be aware of little things like that. If something comes up that you're like, I don't know what's going on there, let me know, and I will kind of troubleshoot it. But of course, don't wait till the last minute. So going back to this, if you would like to get started, and this is the first of your asynchronous, the second one because of the four-day week. The other one, you have to realize, you have 3 more programs to do. That might take you a little longer than just one asynchronous period. So this video is only, 7, 8 minutes long. Start it now. Ready, set, happy programming.